What's up and welcome back to the channel. So today we're back to reality. Race week's over and we've got some customer cars to get finished up. So this is the first one on the chopping block. This is a San Limo Squirt, little two-seater. It's similar to my car, same manufacturer, just much smaller. It's got a Mendiola 2D with a deco case in it, and this is J35 powered. There's nothing wrong with this motor. We're going to be pulling this one out and doing the J37 swap. Now, as far as I know, the way I'm going to do this swap, I'm the only one that's ever done it. I'm going to use all the earlier J35 electronics along with the intake manifold, injectors, fuel rails, everything. And I'm going to put all that stuff onto the J37. So we're going to go ahead and get started, get this motor pulled out, and you guys join along with us. Here we go. So we're going to get started by taking off the intake manifold, disconnecting the throttle body, undoing the fuel lines, and then we're going to drop the coolant, take off the exhaust, and we should be able to get most of this stuff off of the motor and be able to get it out today. So here we go, guys. So we got the top hat off. We're going to take out these 12mm bolts. This will remove the intake manifold and the spacer. We can get down to the fuel rails, remove that, and then remove the intake manifold. Along with that, we're going to pull the wire harness off, undo the fuel lines, and get this motor ready to come out. We'll get the exhaust off. So yeah, should be relatively straightforward swap. The adapter plate's different. So we've got a new adapter plate over here from Kennedy. Let's see where that's at. There's a new adapter plate. We also have a new adapter flywheel. So we need to pull this out. And the only thing we're going to reuse off this motor is the clutch and the intake manifold. And I think the coil packs will work too. So we'll have a look at that once we get the new motor set in here. If the coil packs don't work, I'll get J37 coil packs. They're still a 3-wire coil pack, so we can wire them up relatively easily. Everything else looks like it'll work. The side bracket here with the mount should work. So yeah, if not, we got to make a couple mounts, but other than that, I think it'll be pretty easy. Pretty straightforward swap. So the reason for doing this swap is this J35A4, this is a Honda Odyssey motor. This makes 242 stock. And then with an open header system, you know, and a freed up exhaust, it makes about 260, 270 to the tire. It's somewhere in that range. The J37 makes 300 to the flywheel stock, where this one makes 242. So it's a significant increase in power. Probably be pretty kick-ass in the dunes, and I can't wait to drive it and test it out. Got all the bolts out of the exhaust, just getting ready to pull it. Intake manifold's off, wire harness is clear. This car's kind of cool. A lot of cars have them, some don't. This has got an engine cage on it, so there's some clamp over brackets right here that take Allen heads. I've already removed the bolts. They're down here too, so this whole back half, the wiring disconnects here. So this whole back half of the car will come off, and we're going to go ahead and pull that off and get the exhaust off. So I gave these a couple of taps with the persuader right here. There she goes, she's off. It actually wasn't supposed to fall like that. I was supposed to catch it, but meanwhile, engine cage is off. We'll sit it over here. So grab this exhaust and pull it off. Set this over here. Take these exhaust manifolds. Actually, you know what? I can leave those on, because we're not going to reuse those. The J37 has a different bracket. So we're going to go ahead and bolt these in and leave them on. And while the engine's sitting here, I'm going to take off the alternator, some of the other bracketry I need, and this thing's just about ready to come out. Okay, well, it is a couple days later. I stopped. I had some other stuff to do and had to work and what have you, but we just got about the J35 ready to pull out. Now we're going to drain the coolant out of it, disconnect the fuel lines, then we're going to go around the corner and grab the engine hoist, and we should be ready to pull this thing out of here. Looks pretty straightforward, should be pretty easy. And then we're going to get the new J37 bolted in here. All right, let's go. All right, so we got a funnel just kind of free floating there. And we set a bucket down there so we can catch all the coolant. Don't want to make a mess. Don't want to mess up the environment, so we're going to reuse this coolant. So whatever we drain out is going to go right back into the motor. So when you don't have a chain for your engine hoist, especially if you're at a wrecking yard, just go ahead and grab you a seat belt. Cut that out with a razor knife. That'll pull an engine right out.
I drove on by your house, our lights turned off, you went out all night, you were gone. Your friends say you were with some big guy. Is it someone that I know? Me and your mom trying to place me with some stupid fucking guy. No need to understand what we ever had, but it's been too long, and what we had is all gone.
Just like that, our J37 is out. Or, I'm sorry, our J35 is out. And we're gonna go ahead and pull this stage 2. Why do you only have a stage 2 clutch? We're gonna need something a little heftier than that. So we'll take this apart, have a look at it, see the condition. The cool thing about this is we're going to reuse the clutch. The kit comes with a new flywheel for the other motor, and then this water neck assembly will go right back on the other motor, so I don't have to change any water plumbing or anything. It's supposedly going to be a pretty straightforward bolt-in deal, minus the electronics, and that's kind of where I thrive at. So all right guys, we're going to get the rest of this pulled apart, and we're going to go grab the J37 and get it set up to go in. So we got the clutch removed. The disc looks pretty decent. We'll get the micrometer on it and check the thickness here in a few minutes. There's quite a bit of clutch dust in there. We'll get that blown out, and we'll take an emery cloth and clean up the surface of the pressure plate there. This is a 9-inch clutch. It's 228 millimeters. So should do fine. All right guys, we're gonna go get that J37 over here and start getting it prepped. So here's the J35, and here's the 37. Let me get this air hose off of here. So we got to move a few things around before we can get the adapter plate, flywheel and stuff bolted on. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. We'll get the J35 set on the ground over there, and then we'll get the J37 up in the air and then in the car, and then we'll take this J35 and sit it back on the rolling cart so we can get it out of the way. We're going to swap these water necks in the pickup tube that goes over to the water pump. Okay, so we've removed the old water neck, and we're going to take this water neck off the other motor. It's got everything plugged off that we need already, and it should bolt right up to this motor. These gaskets are metal and reusable, so we're just going to line it up. Oh yeah, she'll go right back on. So now we're going to go grab the water tube, the tube that goes down all the way through into the water pump.
Many places, take a look at many faces. I'm trying to move away from my home. OC original, punk rock on the radio. Now they're playing my favorite song. I'll just give it away, no rules, and I'll drop that microphone. Just give it away, no rules, and I'll do this on my own. Just give it away, no reason, let's try to get along. Just give it away, no rules, and I'll do this on my own. Publication, that's how it's abomination. Punk rock is needed at every show. My spit's gonna change direction. My friends are drunk wishing they never came out to my show. I'll just give it away, no rules, and I'll jump that microphone. Just give it away, no rules, and I'll do this on my own. Just give it away, no reason, let's try to get along. Just give it away, no rules, and I'll do this on my own.
All right, so the 37 is in. Got the water neck on there, so all our water lines will line right back up. I think next step is we're going to pull the intake manifold off. All right, so we got the upper intake manifold off. It looks like the lower intake manifolds are the same bolt pattern, which is cool. So all we got to do is change these studs, and then our big spacer for the J35 manifold will fit on top of here. So we need to change the fuel rails and the injectors. They're different, but again, that stuff's not a big deal. All right guys, so it is a couple days later. We are back working on the J37 from the J35. So after looking at both timing sets and everything a little bit closer, it's not really going to work. The backing plate would have fit, but I would have had to modify the cylinder head, and then only one bolt would have went in for the both cam sensors. So what it looks like we're going to do is we're going to use the existing cam sensor and the existing crank sensor, which isn't here, it's actually down here, and we're going to go ahead and put this thing on an AEM box, and that way we can just tell it, you know, how many teeth it has, what type of sensor it is, and this thing should fire with no issues. It's a little bit more pricey. I think retail on an AEM box is about 1,200 bucks, but it's going to avoid a lot of headaches, and then that way we can continue to use OEM parts on the motor, which can be had at you know, any auto parts store. The reason we do this and we try to stay as OEM as possible is because when you're out in the middle of the desert, finding a custom part for your car is not exactly easy. But if you come into the nearest town, you'll find an auto aid you know, O'Reilly's, AutoZone, what have you, and they're going to have some stock sensors and such in stock. So we try to leave these things as stock as possible, you know, coil packs, everything. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing wired up, put it on an AEM box, and you know, we're going to scrap using the factory ECU for now. It is something I may revisit later. I may make some custom parts to make it work, but if I can just keep getting people to switch to AEM, then we can still use the existing harness because it is a plug and play. We just have to move a few wires around and change the tune to tell it that it's using a different type of Craig sensor. All right, so we got both motors put back together. This one's going to go back to the customer and it's going to go into another car. There's nothing wrong with it. It ran good. We're just looking for a little more horsepower, so we're going to move on to starting to do the wiring on this thing. Coil packs I've already tested, they'll fit. I just need to take this bracket off. Injector plugs, we're going to go ahead and cut all the old ones off and repin them to the new style connectors. All right, so what I did is I just took my pick, I removed this blue piece, and then I was able to pick out the connectors. You can see this connector is empty. I did the same thing on this connector. You see I did it right here. Picked out the centerpiece and those connectors, click right in. I'm going to put the centerpiece back in and then should plug right on to our new style injector. Now if you heard that click, that's in there real good. Take it out. There we go. So just need to do that 5 more times. So as you saw in the time lapse, we got all 6 injectors repinned. So we'll have fuel now. That's good to go. We're going to work on the alternator wiring, get this vacuum line out of the way, and then we're going to work on getting the coil packs wired in. It looks like this side will reach no problem. So we shouldn't have any issues with that side. We may have to extend them here, and like I said, we'll just cut this loom open, see if we can pull a little bit of slack. So let's go ahead and get the coil packs installed. So guys, after working on this thing all day and getting it almost ready to turn it over and fire, we went to go put coolant in it. I was putting oil in it, we're putting coolant in it, and the next thing you know, I was standing in a puddle of coolant. I thought I might have left one of the coolant lines loose, and turns out that wasn't the issue. The issue is right there. I think you guys can see that pretty good. There is a giant hole in the side of the water jacket. Don't know how it got there. This motor came from a wrecking yard as a good used motor. The customer brought it to me, so I already gave him a call, sent him some pictures of it. So the saga continues with this J37 swap. That hole looks awfully round. I don't know what could have caused that. Maybe this thing got a cracked sleeve. I don't know. I checked the oil. There's no water in the oil, so it's not mixing. So I don't know. I'm gonna take this motor back out, pull the adapter plate off, and see if I can see anything from the other side. But for now, it looks like the J37 changeover is going to get put on hold. We'll get this motor pulled back out and take a look at it. We'll probably put this car away, and then we're going to move on to. I got a mess going on back here. Sorry for the mess, guys, but we're going to move on to this little mid-engine car. This is a mid-engine car. It used to be Volkswagen. Now it's Honda V6. You see the J35 tucked in there. Cool little car. We're going to take this transmission out. This is a Mega Sand transmission. There's not much support for this style transmission anymore. We're going to take this out. We're going to put a Mendiola 2D in this car, and then we are going to add a turbocharger as well. So we're going to turbo this thing and make this car a little Wheelie King ripper. So we're probably going to stop on that car and then move on to this one. So guys, that's going to do it for today's episode. Appreciate you guys watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you share this video. Let your friends know. And drop a comment down below. Let me know if you like what you're seeing. And once again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.